He kōna ipurangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
No mai whakarongo mai ki te Aotai Whenua. Welcome to Country Life. I'm Janina Schwanica.
Lovely to have your company. Thanks for joining us. Ko Sally Round tēnei. Today we're heading to a farm in Canterbury where harvesting lettuces comes with a spectacular view.
Cosmo and I have been checking in with farmers and growers around the country to get a feel for conditions on the land. And I also drop in on Miley the huntaway to see how the pup's getting on with her training.
And later I'm taking you to a hub of activity in the Bay of Plenty. The Grow Hub aims to get teens digging.
But first we're heading to Cleverley in North Canterbury. Ben Scott from Scott Fresh bought some farmland there a couple of years ago in order to expand his veggie growing operation. It was wet and cold when Cosmo Kentish Barnes was there, so they jumped in a ute to check on some of the crops.
So we've got baby leaf spinach, we've got mesclun over here, broccoli on your left, and then behind us we've got the iceberg lettuce, and it's all harvested from late May through to late October, early November.
Yes. Yeah. So this is your winter growing site, is it?
Just winter.
Yeah.
Yep. So during the summer it's all just in crop. We put it through oats or barley, and then we just incorporate that back into the soil.
So how much land have you got here in production?
There's about 100 hectares on this site. Yep.
And your land here literally goes right down to the sea.
Yep, right to the lagoon, yeah. That's right there. So you're in the tractor, and you people have seen whales out there, and a lot of dolphins. It's absolutely fantastic.
Tell me about the soil, because it's very dark.
Yeah, look, I don't know the actual history of how that's formed, but it is beautiful soil. It's really unusual that it's formed over a pea shingle. I understand that the pea shingle that sits underneath it was actually, this was all under the sea at one stage. And it's all lifted up. When it was under the sea, it had the motion of the waves and whatnot. That's why it's all round pea shingle. So you scratch down about 15 centimetres and it's just pea shingle forever. Yeah, for metres and metres. But it's fantastic for winter vegetables. It's terrible for summer anything. It's hard to keep the water up in summer.
Right now it's raining quite heavily, but that just passes through the land quite quickly.
Yeah, it does, yep. If we get a big, couple 100 mils or something, we'll certainly feel it. There'll be a bit of pooling. But compared to sort of a clay-based farming operation, it drains pretty well, yeah.
And you've got another farm at Spotswood?
Yep, Spotswood, so that's about 5 minutes north of Cheviot, and that's a very similar size. That farm's just for spring, autumn and summer production. It's a fantastic farm as well. It's really well set up. And I suppose the other farm is probably, cost of production on the other farm is probably cheaper. It's got one irrigator which covers most of the farm, a big linear, and it's got the yard basically positioned in the middle of the farming operation. So for us, that's a bit more of a sort of a vegetable factory, whereas this here's a wee bit more. It takes a wee bit more work.
Did you always have your eye on this block here?
Yep, yeah, absolutely, yep.
What was it like, the land, when you first moved onto it?
Well, it was all in pasture. Yeah, they had cattle on here, and prior to that they'd had stud cattle on here, and then prior to that they'd had deer on here originally. So the whole place was covered in deer fencing when we moved here.
And what, did you put a plough to the land?
We didn't plough it because the soil's so shallow that we were pretty loath to do that, because we don't want to pull the pea shingle to the surface. So everything we've done here, we've really just cultivated and incorporated what was on the top through the profile. The least we can touch it, the better. And we do a lot of mulching, a lot of surface mulching, so we're not disturbing the soil, and then go through and do a pass. We do obviously have to cultivate. We've got no option but to do that. And that's what the summer oats or barley program's about, is trying to keep the structure of the soil.
Now there's row upon row of lettuces. How much do you grow?
I should have prepared for that question.
Roughly.
I actually don't. Well, we've got 200 hectares of production across both farms. We work on somewhere between 42 and 55,000 lettuce per hectare. But only a third of the farm in any given year is an iceberg.
But it's still a lot of lettuce.
It's a lot of lettuce, yep.
Yes.
Yep, a lot of lettuce. The crews are out harvesting till midday today, and it's a lot of lettuce, a lot of units.
And ditto for broccoli too.
Absolutely, yep. I think the guys yesterday cut 800 crates of 25 count, so whatever that is, a lot of broccoli.
Yes. And where does it go?
So with the spinach and mesclun, a lot of that gets marketed through Foodstuffs channel under the Clearwater Gardens brand, and we send stuff through to home delivery services, and that's under the My Food Bag type scenario, and that's all branded under the Scott Fresh brand. And some of the stuff we supply to some small supermarkets is done through the Scott Fresh brand as well. But then a lot of it's branded through Pam's iceberg lettuce as well, through Foodstuffs, into Pack and Save and New World.
What is the demand like? I mean, can you sell everything you grow?
Yeah, we absolutely can. Iceberg lettuce has been, the demand's been strong, same with broccoli, but the prices have been, unfortunately, been really, really, really poor, especially for broccoli over the last 12 months. So
Who dictates how much you get for broccoli and lettuce?
it's just pure supply and demand. So there's no given price. We talk about it daily or weekly with different customers, whether it be intermediaries that go between us and the supermarkets, and it is just purely supply and demand. So one week it could be $2, the next week it could be 50 cents.
That's a big variation.
It is a big variation. It makes it very, very hard to budget, but typically the pricing has been very, very poor. And with the mesclun and spinach, we have had to walk away from some of the crop because we can't vary the price as a fixed price product.
What's the most valuable product you grow in terms of revenue?
Revenue per hectare,
Yeah.
for us it's probably still iceberg lettuce, but I think over the year we grow something like 10 or 15 different varieties,
Why don't you just stick with one variety?
because if we grew the winter variety in summer it would end up being huge and it would be puffy, and likewise if we grew a summer variety in the middle of winter it would be the size of a golf ball. They've all got different levels of vigour, and I think there's one variety in particular that we grow during winter. We're the only grower in New Zealand that actually grow it, but that for us is our staple variety. So it takes a long time to sort of establish what the best varieties are and the best slots for those varieties.
What about trends? What veggies are popular at the moment?
Yeah, I think there has been big growth in the baby leaf spinach and mesclun market, especially baby spinach. I don't know what the figures are as an industry. Iceberg lettuce for us, I think over time, taste or supermarket's preference has gone from a loose unbagged lettuce to a bagged lettuce, which works well for us because that's our main focus.
Do you bag your lettuces here on site?
We bag it all on site. Yep. It's all bagged in the paddock. So nothing that we produce here gets touched from the time it leaves the paddock. Everything arrives in the cool stores in a state ready to sell.
How does that work out in the paddock?
Oh, it's a pity that it's raining. You can't really sort of see, but we've got 4 of these different conveyor belts, and they were hand built in Holland, and we tow them around the different paddocks. They hook onto the side of harvest trailers, and then they go up and down the rows, and the guys are harvesting onto it. It's got a tagging machine on there, so the tag goes on and it goes back to the yard, and in the summer months it's all vacuum chilled. And that I think is why bag lettuce has become so popular, is because people have cottoned on to the fact that you buy a bag lettuce and if you eat it 2 weeks later it tastes the same as what it did on day one, because it is vacuum chilled. Because often you harvest lettuce and it might be 25, 30 degrees outside, and the core of the lettuce might be 20 degrees. You vacuum chill it within an hour of harvest, it's down to 2 degrees all the way through to the core. So that way it basically stops degrading from the minute you harvest.
So you harvest it, bag it out in the paddock, and then it goes straight into the vacuum chiller, which is just over there on the other side of the paddocks.
Yep, we'll have usually two teams of harvesters working on the vegetable side of it, so the broccoli and lettuce, hand harvested, and then we've got the baby leaf spinach and mescluns all machine harvested, but it's still got a team of people involved, but it's all cut by a blade.
So how many staff do you employ?
We've got a team, probably full-time equivalent team of about 30 to 35 people.
Gosh.
Yep. So backpackers that we've always used as part of our harvest crew, and in the last year and a half we've moved to RSE workers. We've got a team of 10 now, all from Vanuatu. They live in that house up there actually. I think it's probably the best view of any house on the coast here. It's absolutely beautiful. And then aside from that we've got our full-time permanents and part-time permanents, mainly Kiwis.
Tell me about your background, because your father grew vegetables on the outskirts of Christchurch.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, in Marshlands. Yep.
Growing veggies is kind of in the blood for you, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So he did that up to 20 years ago. But I think Dad tried to put us off getting into vegetable growing. So I remember we were given a hand hoe on the day we finished school, and we were told to hoe pumpkin, and that went all the way through to Christmas. We weren't allowed to do such things as cut lettuce until we were much older, and Dad certainly didn't treat us with any favours and allow us to be on the tractor or anything like that at a young age. We had to really work our way towards it.
So Ben, when did you think, I can make a go of this, there's potential?
I think I saw pretty early on that it was an industry there where there were a lot of older people that were probably leaving, and Dad was, he was fantastic. He let me learn by experience, and I think if he had done what would be tempting, which would be to tell me to not buy the new tractor or not listen to certain people and change everything, I don't think the message would have got through as well as it did.
Is he still involved in in the business?
No. So he passed away 4 or 5 years after I came into the business. Yeah, he died at the age of 62.
How nice that he knew that you were taking on the business and had the same passion that he did.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it was, in the early days, it was great to have Dad involved, and you hear a lot about farm succession and the way that people provide opportunities for their children. And looking back, Dad was just absolutely fantastic, and he couldn't have done it in a better way. And I was very, very fortunate.
That was vegetable grower Ben Scott on his farm Scott Fresh at Cleverley in North Canterbury.
Well, it's the beginning of the month. Time for a look at conditions on the land. Northland Te Tai Tokoro farmers are feeling more confident after a kind winter, with spring conditions setting them up well for the end of the year. Cattle prices remain the strongest our stock agent has ever seen, especially for store stock. Recent bull sales went well and feeder calves almost completely sold out. With calving done for most, dairy farmers are now turning to breeding. Artificial insemination's already begun, and bulls are heading out to the paddock shortly. Around Pukekohe, spring weather conditions have been favourable and crops are growing well, apart from some sporadic hail damage about the middle of September. Calving's just about over in Waikato, but there's been no let-up for farmers there. Here too, many have started their AI programs. Silage is being cut from excess grass, while preparations for crops like chicory are underway. Maize is expected to be sown later this month. Given the good feed conditions, milk production has seen a super flush, with Fonterra factories chocker. This year's dairy payout surpassing expectations has seen farmers very happy.
Things are looking bright for Bay of Plenty's avocado growers. Harvest is underway and growers are feeling more optimistic with good quality fruit coming off. Things are also good in the kiwi fruit world, especially for green variety growers receiving strong orchard gate returns of $83,000 per hectare of crop. Frost protection measures have been going full bore. This year's bud burst is looking good and has started slightly earlier than expected. It's too early to tell whether this will lead to an early harvest though. Labour demand is at its peak with thinning soon to start, but there's plenty of staff to be found. Growers will be keeping a close eye on expected heavy rainfalls this weekend. South Taranaki dairy farmers were relieved to get some rain in September after close to 15 months of dry conditions. It was only about 130 millimetres, but it's been the wettest month in a long time, our farmer contact says. Grass is growing again, and some cows have even been afflicted by bloat. There's a fair bit of silage being cut around the region and maize being sown. Mating has also started for most dairy farmers this week. A shortage of in-milk cows has seen high dairy cattle prices at recent sales, and the increased Fonterra payout has helped lift farmer confidence.
East Coast Te Tairāwhiti farmers are back to worrying about heavy rainfall this week. It's a double-edged sword, as many would like some rain to top up the tanks, but too much further hinders farm access, especially for those still impacted by last year's cyclone. Strong lamb survival rates and docking getting done has helped lift the mood, our farmer contact says. Really strong cattle prices are keeping most sheep and beef farmers going at the moment. Rainfall's been below average in Hawke's Bay, with our farmer contact recording under 20 millimetres for the entire month of September. Beef breeders are doing well, though works prices have dropped a little earlier than expected. Sheep meat prices are starting to improve, and lamb survival rates are good as docking gets started. Frost fans have been going on vineyards in recent weeks, and stone fruit trees are blossoming. Ground conditions are good for arable farmers, with squash, sweet corn and maize crops going in. It's been a tough month for farmers in Manawatu Rangitikei, with rain almost every day, leading to messy paddocks. A few days of recent sun have seen things coming right though. Dairy cows are milking well, with many preparing for pre-mating heats. Docking's in full swing, and they've had good lamb survival rates considering poorer pregnancy scanning results. Feed levels are comfortable, with some early silage being cut and groundworks for cropping underway.
Lambing has gone reasonably well in Wairarapa with good survival rates. This was in part helped by a reduced number of stock due to earlier drought conditions. Feed levels across the region are comfortable, with farmers fairly happy. Vineyards are in leaf and spraying's being done in between blasts of Wairarapa's infamous spring winds. It's been a wet month for horo whenua growers, with about 300 millimetres recorded over the last 6 weeks. It's made getting new crops into the ground more challenging, but growers have had a fine run in recent days, with temperatures also increasing. The asparagus season is also underway, along with the usual leafy greens.
Ki te Waipounamu across Cook Strait to the Nelson Whakatū region. It's been wet. Our contact in Appleby has 40 millimetres in the rain gauge. It's not helping his pollinating orchard bees because they don't carry umbrellas, he said. The rain was needed though. Pruning's done and dusted on apples and pears. Spraying for black spot will resume once conditions dry out. Commercial peony pickings getting underway on the property. Some varieties have flowered 2 weeks early due to the mild winter. 60 to 70% of the crop will be exported to mainly Australia, Japan and America. The rest go into the local market. Marlborough is having a blinder. There's ample moisture in the ground, grass is taking off and there's subclover on the hills. Lamb tailings completed on most lower hill country farms. Our farmer says his 1-year-old calves are averaging a healthy 310 kilos after putting on a kilo a day over winter. Last season's crop paddocks are being cultivated and sown with raphno. This is a kale and radish hybrid. The dry-tolerant crop is used for summer, autumn and winter grazing. In the province's vineyards, bud burst is over, leaves are out and sulphur spraying is underway.
A farmer at Ross in South Westland tells us it's been a rough couple of months. He recorded a metre of rain in August and the same in September. The sun finally appeared last Friday and it stayed dry until Tuesday, providing the first window of opportunity to get fertiliser onto paddocks. Due to a lack of quality grass, he's been feeding out heaps of silage, and it's the first time in 7 years he's seen the back of the silage stack. Other dairy farmers have been buying in feed for the first time. For the cows' well-being and with AI just around the corner, he's thinking of switching to once-a-day milking. Spring remains cool and dry in Canterbury, Waitaha, although some rain this week has been welcomed. Grass growth's been slow and no one has a feed surplus as of yet. For the last few weeks, tractors have been busy planting paddocks that have come out of winter feed. Paddocks are also being prepared for sowing winter feed crops.
A dairy farmer at Balclutha in South Otago says the rain's been torrential for the past 24 hours, and it was continuing when he spoke to Cosmo on Friday. Some catchments are under threat of flooding. The timing's terrible, with cows about to reach peak milk flow. In paddocks, there's lots of surface water, making it difficult for cows to lie down, and the majority of the feed being fed out is being trampled into the ground. A respite in the weather's expected over the weekend, but more rain is forecast for next week. Conditions are dire in Murihiku, Southland. Everything's sodden after weeks of rain. Lambing's in full swing, but ewes are cold and muddy, and lambs are being born into puddles. Results aren't in yet, but lamb mortality rates are expected to be high. Feed utilisation is dreadful, and farmers are running out of supplementary feed. Federated Farmers has set up a feed service to connect Southland farmers with people who have surplus feed and can truck it south. For animal welfare reasons, some dairy farmers are going down to once-a-day milking, which is unheard of this early in the season. The farmer we talked to says it's particularly tough to have people driving around taking photos, trying to portray farming in a negative light, she says, when farmers are dealing with some of the worst conditions they've experienced. She says this is not what's needed at a time when their mental well-being is a huge concern.
This is Country Life on RNZ National 101 FM.
A few months back, we introduced you to Miley, a young Huntway pup born on the east coast of Wairarapa, and her trainer, award-winning dog triallist Chris Shaw. Well, I headed back to Wairarapa to see what progress she's made since, as part of her journey to become a working farm dog and part of Chris's team. She's coming along nicely, and I even picked up a few tips to help when wrangling my own dogs. It's been a few months since we checked in with dog triallist Chris Shaw and Miley, the young Huntway pup he's bred and is training up to join him on the farm. At 10 months old, she's still a pup and has lots to learn, but her bark is coming along nicely.
So I just repeat this process for about 10 or 15 minutes. So what I'm teaching her, and this sort of is, without her even knowing it, I'm teaching her how to walk and stop, pretty much, without even teaching her. So when I sort of yank on the rope, that's going to be the start of my stop. And by giving her a bit of encouragement, like a bit of a sound, that's going to be the start of her walk. So I'm teaching her without even her knowing it.
Her confidence has definitely grown, perhaps too much so. But Chris tells me he'd rather train an overconfident dog than try to instill stock sense in them. So it's been, 3 months since we last caught up?
Yeah, 3 months now, yep.
And how have things been going?
Slow and steady, yeah. She's been a bit of a challenging time, obviously with winter and lambing and calving and everything like that. And short daylight hours, not a lot of time to train dogs, but yeah, days are starting to stretch out now, so yeah, things are starting to pick up. Miley must be about 9-10 months old. They sort of go through stages. Sort of as a puppy they'll do anything, then sort of in between, which is the stage she's at, sort of the intermediate level, they like to test the boundaries, and they can get a bit unruly, a bit naughty. And then the next step after that, when you start breaking them in, that's when you'll notice probably the most transition, when they go from intermediate to sort of being a broken in dog.
And I think when we spoke last, we were talking about, one of the most important things with dogs, especially Miley's age, is to work on that bond and just get that closeness so that you both trust each other. How do you feel your bond is now compared to when we first caught up with her?
In my opinion, it's going pretty good. So what I've just been working on is she's just been coming to work with me, doing lambing beats, and she's learned how to ride on the bike and be tied up on the fence. Not that she likes that much. Yeah, just simple manners we've been working on. So I think, the whole bonding process has come along real good. The excited side of me wants to crack into it and start breaking her in, but then the been there and done that side of me knows that she's not quite mentally capable of the pressure that I'm about to put on her. So yeah, it's a fine line, and it's a real tricky one to navigate around.
Are there particular areas that you've started to see that might be like a little bit more problematic, or things you think she might especially have to work on?
Yeah, there's quite a few things. She went from being quite a calm-natured animal to now being, she's quite full-on and towy. Like, she's still quite user-friendly, but at the moment the ears aren't really that well painted on. But, I mean, it's a good thing because at least I can do something with a dog that's really confident. Don't have to do anything to try and boost her along, so to speak.
One of the other things I was keen to hear more about, and I guess I'll get to see in a little bit, but how's her bark coming along?
It's coming along good. We went through a bit of a stage, as all Hanaway pups do. Hanaway pups don't really like sheep getting away from them. When I'd have her working on the sheep, she would use her noise quite nicely close up to the sheep, but as the distance grew, her noise would get quite squeaky and she would shut her noise off. So we've just been focusing on that, nice close contact and bringing her noise out. It's got a lot more depth and weight to it now.
All right, let's go see our girl. She's bigger now, but still only half the size of her full-grown sister, with big paws yet to fill out. Hi, Miley. And she's got a big girl collar as well.
Yep, she's graduated.
She's graduated. Yeah. What does training involve for Miley at this age and stage?
I've focused a lot on just getting her to ride on the bike, be clipped to the fence, and I think last time we talked, her training sessions were quite short and sharp, whereas now, like, her training sort of in hand out here on the drives, it's about 10-15 minutes long now, and same with if I'm working her on sheep, I've probably gone from 5 or 10 minutes now to sort of 15 to 20 minutes, focusing on key aspects that I'm looking for. And at the moment, obviously, I need her noise. Her noise is not quite where I want it, so I pretty much won't move on from that training aspect until her noise is at a level where I think we're getting somewhere. Building on from last time, I've got her standing out in front of me now. So this is the start of my stop. So I can get her to stand in one spot now, and instead of standing really close behind her, I'm just creating a gap. Stand. Stand. Yeah, so we've been working on this, and also too the next part, which is our face up, and it also leads into our sides. We've been working on, if I take a step out here, face up, stand up, she should automatically follow around.
So you wanted to still be looking away from you at all times, yes, no matter where you move?
Yep. So this is basically your face up. So wherever I walk, if she looks at me out the corner of her eye, she should follow me around and stand at 12 o'clock. Stand. She's anticipating me moving. Face up, stand. Good girl. Simple. Stand. Yeah, and we've obviously gone from doing this for 5 minutes to now 10-15 minutes. Stand. Good girl. It's very important that you reassure them. So she was getting a little bit nervous then. Just a little bit of reassurance goes a long way.
If there is something that you need to correct, if they do something, bad habit, what is the best way you find to address that?
Well, I guess the start is identifying that you've created a habit, which I think at the moment I have from going from side to side. She's just getting a little bit confused. That tells me that I basically just have to go back to square one again, just get her standing in front of me before sort of trying to rush to put a face up and stuff on and moving from side to side, because she's obviously not quite ready. The dog will let you know that it's ready. You see how she's sort of standing up nice and tall rather than sort of crouched down in a sort of submissive pose. That's a key indication to me that she's comfortable being out in front of me. A lot of things that happen with training dogs is not actually the dog's fault. It's actually the owner failing to read the animal, and there's nothing wrong with taking backward steps. Stand. Stand. It's got to be firm but fair. Stand. When I'm working my dogs, if they're misbehaving, rather than getting a bit unruly and probably giving them a fair twack around the ears, I just call them back and someone else does their job. That to me hurts them more than physical punishment. Good girl.
Do you want to take her down to the yards?
Yeah.
We'll see her, watch her mounting the ute, see how that goes.
Take the dog with us down this time, because she's graduated from a small pen to a bigger pen now. I will warn you though, I'm trying to break in some new training sheep, so they could be a bit naughty, because training dogs is not all about training dogs, you've got to train the sheep too.
Finding time for the training can be tricky while juggling jobs on the farm, especially during the winter months when daylight hours are scarce. But Chris finds it's a good break from on-farm duties.
Come here, get up. Here, buddy.
We're down in the yards to see what Miley's learned. She's joined by heading dog Biddy. It's less muddy today, and we're out in the paddock with a new mob of sheep.
So as before, when we came down here last time, I've already got the sheep already waiting in the yard. My own personal opinion that when you come down to a training paddock, come down with a set plan. Every time I come into a training paddock with my dogs, I've got an understanding of what I want to work on. There's no point going down to train a dog and if you've got no sense of direction. So that'll be a big piece of advice I could give anybody who's out there listening.
It's not just training the dogs, you also have to train the sheep that you work with. How do you do that process? How do you get sheep ready to work with dogs?
Well, yeah, like obviously the more you sort of work with your training sheep, the more accustomed they come to you and the dog, because obviously, well, they're not quite a wild animal, but they're virtually a wild animal, so you're pretty much breaking them in and quietening them down, really. These ones we're about to go and play on, they're our wet dries. Yeah, they're a little bit naughty, but I've come fully prepared for that, so that's why Miley's on a rope. I probably won't let her off. That's me already preempting the situation before the dog gets herself into trouble.
Coming in with a plan, like you said.
And then over time, as you slowly break the sheep in, then you can obviously give your dog a little bit more freedom and they can sort of chase them around. Yeah, once they're not running to one end of the paddock trying to stretch wires and break posts.
Well, let's go see how she's come along.
What we've sort of been working on is we're coming to the pen, and all of a sudden, like, she's gone from wanting to get at the sheep to standing, by my side waiting for her turn. I've been real conscious about that because for a start there, she just wanted to bolt off and do her own thing, so I've had to be quite firm and get her to wait beside me. So that's one thing we've been working on. And as you can see here, I've also got my little heading dog. The reason why I've got the heading dog is one, to hold the sheep in the corner, but also two, to create a bit of excitement to draw the free noise out. Miley will see my heading dog working the sheep and she'll just want to get at them, and that helps to draw free noise. Close contact is crucial to bringing out free drawing noise from a hunt away. Closer they are to the sheep, the more noise that the dog will pump out. So I've just been focusing on getting her to pretty much stand out in front of me like we did at home. Quiet. And she's got to wait until I'm ready to train her. Hey, buddy. Wah. Hey, buddy.
For Biddy, you had like a slightly different command for her to come in and things.
Every dog's got its own commands, its own left, its own right. I know quite a few sort of top dog trialists that have got the same commands for every dog, but I don't know. I get confused. I don't know how the dog feels, but yeah, it works for them, and my way works for me.
And so have you chosen what Miley's commands will be, or is that kind of a feel it out process?
It's kind of a feel it out process, but generally speaking, I'll put the same commands of a dog I might have had in the past. So I haven't quite really sat down and thought about that yet. But
I suppose that's a wee way down the line anyway for Miley.
It's actually not that far away. Like next 3 months will probably be the 3 months where you'll notice the most difference. In the next 3 months, we should have a stop. We should have a walk. We should be starting at least on one side, and she should have a run whistle. So yeah, what you're seeing today. In the next 3 months, as long as all goes to plan and she's mentally ready to take it, yeah, you'll actually see quite a large improvement.
We'll be back early next year to check in on how she's going and to see if she's mastered her bark yet. That was Chris Shaw I was speaking to, and of course young Miley the Huntaway pup. We'll check back in with them over the coming months to track her progress. You can find photos of that training session and when we first met Miley and Chris on the RNZ website under the news section, Look for Country.
Well, hi, I'm Eric Linklater. I'm one of the sale yards guys in Fielding, and we take people around the sale yards, and you'll be most welcome to come and join us. And you're now listening to Country Life.
It may be the school holidays, but we're heading back to school now on Country Life.
Hi.
Hello,
You must
I'm
be
Hillary.
Hillary. Hi, Hillary. This is the Grow Hub.
Yes, it is.
And I've just walked past loads of vegetable beds. Obviously winter, not much happening.
There's not much happening.
It's just over a year now since the Grow Hub opened at Katikati College.
We're just about to kick into it again with potatoes and broad beans.
It's a clutch of classrooms, labs, a kitchen and growing areas aimed at sparking teens' interest and a possible career in all aspects of horticulture. After all, here in the Bay of Plenty, they're in the heart of avocado and kiwi fruit country.
Where are the students?
Oh, they will be here in about 10 minutes.
Hilary Johnson is one of the hort teachers and the driving force behind the project. She's giving me a quick look around before the class starts. And there's a little bit more here than your standard ag class.
This is our little laboratory where we do tissue culturing, which is cloning of plants. So these are all actually orchids that were given to us, and here these orchids are like in the neonatal unit, if you like.
They've got a big sort of bell jar over
Yeah,
them.
and these ones are a little bit more advanced. And what we do clone with the kids a lot is cauliflower, believe it or not, which is completely ridiculous because nobody in their right mind would clone a cauliflower, but it works quickly and it has a fascination factor that something like an orchid doesn't, because no one expects to see a cauliflower growing from a little piece of the curd.
What sort of technology have you got in here that helps?
Okay, so this thing here is called a laminar flow unit, and what it does is it blows highly filtered air down the back of there and across the workspace, so that a person sitting at the bench here and working in front of them is operating in a totally sterile area.
Would other colleges have a horticultural laboratory like this?
No, I've not seen anything like it anywhere. The amount of equipment that we've got here is basically because of the funding that we've had that's external. We haven't paid for any of this gear. It's all been given to us by industry, by private individuals. It's not the sort of thing that a school could afford to purchase. One of these, for example, is anywhere between $5,000 and $20,000.
And this is this sterile unit that you showed me before.
Yep. We actually paid about $2.5 for it because we got a good deal, but the money was given to us by these lovely people here.
By the Bay of Plenty branch NZ Tree Crops Association, and this is for plant tissue culture. Well, I guess they'll be coming in soon, will they?
I can see them starting to come already.
About 40 15 and 16-year-olds arrive and settle in for the hour-long class.
Right, listen up everybody. I'm going to get you to come cluster out here just for
6 years ago, Hilary was charged with reinventing the horticulture program at Katikati College, and she's transformed it into a program called Innovative Horticulture.
Horticulture had become a place where students came if they didn't know what to do or couldn't do anything else or were told to. It was perceived as an easy option, not academic. It got a bad reputation over a period of time, and consequently it wasn't engaging. Students didn't want to stay on, teachers didn't want to stay on. It's not an uncommon picture that's happened in a number of schools around New Zealand over time.
So what have you done to change those perceptions?
We have pitched it as a course where there is an option for everybody, from all academic levels, interests and walks of life. We have put in a lot of choice in terms of what students learn, how they present that learning, how they are assessed, the rate at which they can proceed. For example, we don't have deadlines on assignments, we assess when they are ready. It's really, really improved student engagement.
And of course, the bright, warm and modern space is a bit of a drawcard too. While most of the students revise for an upcoming assessment, I head into one of the side labs with two of the older students.
We've come into this lab with Miley and Cara. What experiments are you doing?
Well, we're starting to root some plants just to create some more. We're thinking about actually selling them at the Saturday markets that we do here in Katikati, which is pretty cool.
And these are indoor plants, are they?
Yeah, indoor plants that some of them I didn't even know that we could root ourselves, but turns out we can, and we're just using some of Mrs. rooting hormones to get that going, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Is there any special heat or LED lighting or anything that you're using?
Yeah, we've got some heating pads underneath just to help give them some warmth with the cold weather, and the lights give them all round good production and photosynthesis.
We've also potted some orchids from tissue culture. We made up our own potting mix and stuff, planted them 3 to 4 in a pot because they don't like coming out of the tissue culture and being potted singularly. And they've been going for about 6 months now.
I must say, they look quite tiny.
Yeah.
To my untrained eye.
So
Does it take a while? Does it take a lot of patience?
So basically, as you can see there, the smaller ones is how they start, and the ones at the back have been done later on. So they take time to adjust from being out of such a sterile environment.
Millie and Cara are in their second year studying horticulture, and they're planning to continue next year.
Favourite class, great people, great students. It's only the people that want to be here, so we're all here to actually learn, and Miss has always got the information, the knowledge, the equipment for us to do what we want to do. It's a very independent subject, which I love personally because we can go in our own speed, do our whatever we're interested in, and find a passion and stuff like this.
So you're going to get a little side hustle going indoor plants and selling them, are you?
Definitely. Yeah, me and Cara have got quite a few cuttings that we've done at home, and fills up the place, makes a nice, helps with the air quality as well, and why not give other people that, right?
Are you from a rural background? Are you from a farm yourself, or a horticulture operation?
Cara is.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that.
So we are a kiwifruit avocado orchard. I am third generation on the farm.
And are you planning to use what you're gaining here and to go into the business yourself?
Definitely, yeah.
Go onto the family farm?
Yeah.
And is this something you've always been interested in, or?
Not really. Only in the past 2 years since I've started horticulture, I've actually learnt to love it and be outdoors more.
I don't think we really saw an interest in horticulture until we started learning about it and get the knowledge for it. But now that we have, it's just growing. I love gardening. Why would you not want free food at home, right? Yeah.
And this is more the practical thing that's happening in here, but you're also learning agribusiness, that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the knowledge you've picked up in the last couple of years.
So basically in this class we cover almost every subject. So we do business, physics, biology, chemistry, horticulture, math, hospitality, so English. So when we've grown our food from seeds or whatever, we get to turn them into food.
Yeah, we get to make stuff in our wonderful kitchen. We've made cricket protein brownies, and We've had some students eat full scorpions just for the protein experiments about them. And
Really?
yeah. Personally not me. But
Did you taste them?
No, I didn't. She tasted the carrot cake, carrot cake.
How were they?
It was good. You can't taste the difference, and a lot of people eat bugs for the protein and different cultures and stuff, so we were like, why not join on, eh?
So the hospitality element comes into it in the cooking side of things, and taking what you've grown from the garden and turning it into
last summer
kitchen food.
holidays we were able to come in the holidays and grab big bags of potatoes just because we grew them, and it was great for our families, great.
So Cara, what do you plan to do after this? Are you going to take this on further?
I'm planning to take over my dad's orchard and obviously work with him on that for probably the rest of my life, really. Really enjoying it, yeah. Ever since I was a kid, I've been helping out down there, and over the time I've just been there, I've enjoyed being outside and all that sort of thing.
And are you picking up knowledge here that you think that you could help make a change?
Yes, definitely.
In what way?
So with our kiwi fruit orchard, in this class we get a topic called management practices, which we've recently done. We get to pick what crop we do. So I did kiwi fruit, and so I learnt a lot more knowledge about different kinds of management practices that go into growing the kiwi fruit.
Something that you're not doing already on farm a little bit differently?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of different things, like different types of pollination, that sort of thing.
Are you already telling Dad, hey, we should do it this way? Is he getting annoyed with you?
A little bit.
Oh, and what about you?
We recently took a trip to Zespri headquarters in Mount Maunganui, and I found quite an interest in that, just the way they work, the way they've created a space that everybody enjoys and everybody's comfortable, and it's really opened my eyes up on how many different departments they've got there that do different things all to make this little kiwi fruit that people enjoy, and their breakfast and lunch. And
Is it surprising how many different careers there are for you in horticulture?
Definitely, yeah. I didn't know how widespread it actually was. Yeah, we've got a big chart outside that different links to different career pathways. Yeah, and
what interests you particularly?
I just like the free food. I like being able to. It's a survival skill, learning how to grow plants. It's something you're not going to forget. It's not something like calculus that just goes in one ear, out the other. You're always going to have this knowledge, always going to be able to have a supply of food for you to eat.
So you're going to get
keep
into the
yourself.
growing side of it?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
What, have your own little farm? Or?
Yeah, me and Cara.
Great.
Have our own little house. Yeah.
Very cute.
Yeah.
One of the key foundations for our success is that we have so many orchardists and pack houses and other horticultural operators out there who are keen to support us and either come in and talk to our students or host our students on their premises or provide them with resources. We are just overwhelmed, actually. Sometimes the support is almost too much. Yeah. And we do try to get the students out of class as much as possible. We want them to see what horticulture is like in the real world. Within about 15 kilometres of the school, there's actually an extraordinary number of places to go.
It sort of seems a no-brainer, doesn't it, to have a hub here for learning when you're surrounded like that.
Exactly. And that was the rationale for starting this up in the first place.
What are the various businesses, the orchardists, saying about the lack of suitable candidates for the jobs on offer? And how is this going to change things?
That was one of the big drivers behind this too, and that is why we have got so much support from industry, is that there is a shortage of workers in the horticultural industry and an extreme shortage of skilled workers and a growing shortage of skilled workers. And some of them will pay just about anything to get good skilled workers. We're just trying to catch up with demand.
Coming into the busy spring planting season, there's plenty to do once the bookwork's been done.
Chicken potatoes next to Mr. Valley are a pile of potatoes. We need to put them out in the sunshine so that they sprout, okay? And in a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks time, we can plant them. I've also got some grape cuttings conveniently in the toilet, not in the toilet bowl itself, but just inside the door, because it's nice and cool there. We'll do something with them next week. And this is something fun I thought we might like to do. Once we have grown our potatoes, we can graft a tomato onto the top of them and grow a potato and a tomato on the same plant. So that could be quite cool. So if any of you are totally up to speed with...
Out near the vegetable beds are Ryland and Luca, preparing the soil for some of those spring plantings. I asked them why they're taking the course.
Just learning new skills and knowing how to grow your own plants, save money and stuff as well. And possible business.
So possible career-wise, or are you not thinking about that at the moment?
Potentially, not at the moment, but potentially in future. Yeah.
Is it something that really interests you, or is it more like, I just got to do it because I've got to get my credits?
Well, I'm at home, I have loads of plants and house plants and stuff, so I'm actually quite interested in things, but I think other kids in the class would probably say that, yeah. It's difficult, you still have to pay attention and stuff, but it's definitely an easier class than most others. If you want to get good grades, you still need to listen up and all that.
It's more at your own pace, do it yourself, as long as you're getting it done.
Back inside, another student gets a few tips from Hilary on his germination experiment.
They're very, very leggy at the moment, but other than that, they're looking perfectly healthy. What can you see there? Those are the cotyledons, aren't they?
Yeah.
And what are those two things?
True leaves.
True leaves. So you've got one set of true leaves there. All right? So whilst they don't look very healthy, we know why, and we've learnt something. Does anyone think you can just see the shoots? Here, this one's got two sets. Oh no. You can just see the shoots coming through for the second set of true leaves.
They cover a wide range of subjects at the Grow Hub, aside from the practical stuff, like the science behind agriculture and horticulture, agribusiness, marketing, human resources management, some economics, robotics and sustainability. Something Jack and a few others are discussing in one of the breakout rooms.
We're studying how we can be more sustainable when it comes to the waterways around a kiwi fruit orchard. So when we go and we fertilise a whole orchard, how can that runoff from the fertiliser affect the waterway? When we use pesticides, what can that do? And then we're also looking at how we can prevent these things from happening by riparian planting, so doing that planting along the waterways that stops all of the pesticides and the fertiliser from infiltrating it.
What are the measures of success for you?
Measures of success are student retention. About 60% of our students come back each year. Previously they were doing year 11 and that was it. Now they will come back and do year 12, come back and do year 13. We are tracking the number of students that are going on into Polytech, into university, and are very pleased with those results. And
doing
horticultural courses, yes, or agribusiness related courses. We, for 5, it might be 6 years now, we have had no disparity gap between Maori, Pacifica and Pākehā students, which is unusual, not just in horticulture, but in education full stop. So we are very, very proud of that. And I think it's that personalised learning that has contributed to that as well.
What's the trick to keeping the students engaged?
Making it fun, but making it relevant to them.
Hilary Johnson at the Grow Hub at Katikati College. I was also talking to some of the students, Miley Lahore, Cara McCormick, Jack Smith, Luca Borrett and Ryland Sim. The Grow Hub's also used by the horticultural community and industry groups, and they increasingly want to open it up to others. You can check out photos, the Grow Hub sponsors, and a link to the Katikati Innovative Horticulture Project on the RNZ website. And next week, Janina, you're heading back to school too.
That's right. I join a group of students in Wairarapa as part of the Girls Who Grow program, encouraging young women into ag. We get our hands dirty on a sheep and beef farm, learning more about soil.
And you girls can grab a spade. If one group stays here and has a dig here, and you can compare it. So on your pages behind the map there's a scorecard, and for each of those scores there's some information behind and some pictures where you can compare it and give it a score of 0 to 3.
That's next time on Country Life. And that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us. A quick note from our team. We love getting your feedback and ideas for future stories. You can reach us, country@rnz.co.nz.
Now, we'd hate for you to miss an episode of Country Life. To get every episode on your phone, click follow on your app now. And if you enjoyed our show, give us a shout out on social media or tell a friend by clicking the share button in this app.
Out in the field today were Cosmo Kentish Barnes, Sally Round and me, Janina Schwaneker.
The show was produced and engineered by David Knowles and William Saunders. I'm Sally Round. Catch you next time.
Ka kite.